All right, this is Joycey.
And Blake.
And welcome to Savagely Scaled, the moment you've all been waiting for, our episode on scaling.
Yeah.
That's what we're about right here at Savagely Scaled. So in this episode, we will be talking about scaling, who should scale, when to scale, and why you should scale. We will also be speaking to our own experiences with scaling workouts, how we started, and where we are now. So let's get into it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yay. All right. So the word of the day, or the word for this episode, is scaling. A scaled workout is where you're taking the prescriptive workout and you're modifying it in some way, shape, or form to fit your needs. So if we don't have pull-ups, we're going to jumping pull-ups. We're going to ring rows.
That's right.
Yep. If we don't have push-ups on the floor, we can use a box. We can do dumbbell bench presses. We can do all kinds of stuff. The biggest one for me that I see is like for rope climbs. You can do sit to stands. I love hooking up the rope to the rig and making you guys pull on the rig.
Exercise.
Yeah, and working on your
Clamp.
foot grip clamp, and then that pull down. So there's all kinds of stuff going on with scaling right here, right now.
Right.
But Joycey, who should be scaling?
That's an excellent question.
Thank you.
Honestly, everyone should be scaling, especially as someone who is just starting off. And to CrossFit, rest assured that you will be scaling most of your workouts to start and probably even for the next few months. Although doing an RX workout is an accomplishment, doing an RX workout when you are not ready can also be very detrimental to your progress and even lead you to an injury very early on, which is not a good plan. So I think something like attempting a workout with weights that are too heavy or doing movements that you're not proficient in can put you at risk. So, making sure you're taking the time to develop good habits is definitely the way to go. And that's the best way to progress in the long run. So truthfully, I think everyone should scale. And I think we all started at some point scaling in CrossFit.
Yeah, because when you start CrossFit, we usually have, if you start, you do your on-ramp, you do your 3 classes. You've never seen these movements before. Like
True.
Ring rows, people still have never seen. People usually know about push-ups, pull-ups, squats. But even our squats can be scaled because we want you to have that form. So we're going to scale you to a box, or I guess modify that movement. I feel as a coach, sometimes people shy away from liking to hear the word scale or modified,
Yeah.
but everybody has done it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, there's things that I still do, but especially if you have an injury, you know,
that's a big one.
Pregnancy's another one. Age is another one. There's things that we're going to want to do compared to that RX.
Right.
And I feel like people just are like, I want that RX button.
Right.
And I'm like, guess what? If we do a strength, you can hit that RX button. Because you did that.
Right.
It doesn't matter about the weight. You did that movement as prescribed. So you can hit that button. But don't always think like your CrossFit coming to the gym is making you less because you're not hitting RX.
Right.
And like you briefed on, like if your body's not ready to do those prescribed movements, you're going to hurt yourself. And it's a pet peeve of mine when somebody comes in, doesn't listen, and they do it and they get hurt. And then they're like, well, I've been gone for 3 weeks because CrossFit hurt me.
Right.
You hurt yourself. And I probably sound very mean, but it is a big pet peeve. You hurt yourself because you did not listen to your coach nor your body. Because I give a big briefing about, like, the other day we did it was 5 rounds for that bike, and then we had
That's
cleans. And it was 5 rounds of that, and then you had
Thrusters.
5 rounds of bike and thrusters. And I said, okay, here's the weight, the prescribed weight. The weight had to be the same for both of those movements. So it wasn't, hey, coach, can I get 2 bars? No. Hey, coach, in the middle of this, can I take weight off? because I know my thruster is going to be my limiting factor? No. Yes, in the cleans, you can break that in half, but you need to do your thrusters unbroken.
You're always challenging yourself, even if you're not doing the RX, but you're still doing.
Yeah. And that's like sometimes when I get those numbers and they're like, okay, well, I know that way I can't do that unbroken. But I've never done 9 thrusters unbroken. And I'm like, okay, then let's get that weight where you can hold on to all 9. I did. I had some proud moments of people who were holding on to a thruster, and it might have been lighter for their clean. But if I'm having you do 5 rounds of that and then going into 5 rounds again directly into it with nothing, your pace needs to be on point and that weight needs to be on point. Mm-hmm. And I did give some people like, hey, at least the 3 rounds need to be unbroken. I understand the 2 rounds. But if you're not going to listen to that and all you see of that number and say, oh, I know I can do it once. I'm not asking you to do a single. I'm asking you to do it unbroken, holding on.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, breaking it up if you need to. I do not want to see any clusters. All right. That's not what the board said. It doesn't say 9 clusters. It says 9 thrusters. So the biggest thing is with scaling and modifying is listening to your body. And if you come into the gym and say, I don't care what my body says, then listen to your coach. Do fair. One of the 2 for me, please.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think even just joining CrossFit and getting accustomed to learning more about your own personal capabilities, your strengths, your weaknesses, that was something that, jumping into CrossFit as a newbie or a new athlete was hard to do because I felt like I went into it thinking, oh, I think I can do this. I could do as many as, 20 or whatnot. And then you jump out there and you're like, oh, that's not where I thought I was. And, getting to a place where you're like, I know I can do 25. I know I can do this weight. I know I can do, 5 rounds is a skill in itself that I think with time, you would definitely get there. But in these moments where you're just like in doubt, when you're not sure, or you're feeling even like, not so well that day, whether you're tired mentally, that's a moment to rely on your coaches. That's when you can use your coaches as a resource and be like, hey, I'm not feeling my 100% today. I'm feeling XYZ. What do you recommend?
Yeah. And there's so many things that we can do. I think I even said that in the lifting that day too. Like, hey, we are supposed to hit a heavy. People get max and heavy confused. Mm-hmm. Heavy means it's heavy for you. And, some people are like, well, that's supposed to be my 95%. And if you're not feeling that and your 60% feels heavy, you hit your heavy for today.
Yeah.
We are not, if you're working full time, if you're a mom full time, you're not in here conditioning your body. And even for those people, some of the days are rough and they don't hit their 90%. That's why it says heavy. If it's heavy, then that's what you're going to put in. Mm-hmm. I know it's sometimes hard to be like, but that wasn't my plan. I was planning to hit this number, but your body said differently. And you really need to listen to it. And I think that's like a prized thing to have when you scale or modify. You're actually listening to your body.
Yeah.
And it's telling you what it needs. And you're still going to get a really good workout out of it.
Yeah. And I think that kind of brings us to kind of the next question was when to scale. And you talked a little bit about, with injuries, but we also talked about like, even when you're feeling just drained mentally, whether you're feeling sick. And if you are sick, I would hope you won't come to the gym. Stay home and rest,
Working
relax.
out and sweating does not help any kind of sickness. None
I
whatsoever.
would recommend going on walks. It's so helpful when I'm sick.
So sunlight helps.
Yes.
I get that. Like I usually lay outside if the sun's out.
Yeah, but nothing strenuous. Like, no.
And I don't want to be like, oh, well, if I'm sweating it out. No, you are sweating your germs out and all of us are going to get sick.
And it just gets you so much more tired.
And then I can't work. All right. I would like to work.
I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. So like also like when to scale. I mean, we did talk about that, about like when you're first coming in and a new skill.
Yeah, I need to do more of that Like
So-
work on my form instead
Yeah.
of just doing the move in a workout sloppy.
Yeah. But I feel like sometimes when we do it, like our minds get so hooked on like one movement, like pull-ups, example. We usually members will be like, okay, I'll just do jumping.
Mm.
And then I have a rule about jumping with my classes. Like I don't want to see you just going straight up and down.
Yeah.
You're not getting
Doesn't-
that movement. So I like to like have you kip through the box and do
I
it.
like that. Yeah.
There's also where I've had people on like tippy toes and they're
Oh.
pulling up or, in an instant, like
Like Elvis
pushing
style?
down. Yeah. Pushing down on that bar to lift yourself up and your toes are there to guide
Help.
you if you need. Yeah.
Mm.
I feel like sometimes that's another reason why people don't like to scale because they're just given the same movement over and over to scale
Mm.
and they're not seeing their
Getting out
bang
of
for
it.
their buck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that. I also, with some of my members, they'll tell me like, I don't want to do it. I keep doing it. And I'm not getting anything out of. Do you have anything else? Yeah. When you do drop-ins, sometimes the best thing to do is like people will scale differently. And drop-ins, those coaches give you ideas for that as well of different ways to do ring rows.
Mhm.
Because that's another version is a ring row. But sometimes I reiterate this. I'm like, if this is too easy for you, we can
Mhm.
make that ring row harder. But I need you to have form. I don't need you to be like, well, I did them and I did them so fast.
Mhm.
I don't care how fast you did it. You totally broke that plank
Yeah.
and your butt's just like sinking down and you're just using like your butt momentum. You're not even using your arms.
Yeah.
Sometimes these scaling movements are harder than the
Yeah.
RX movements.
Yeah.
I feel like when we do rope climbs, the sit to stands, because
Oh,
you
yeah.
do more than the rope climb, is way harder.
Get the hammies.
Yes. So
Traps.
don't think like you're working less than somebody.
Oh no, it's just
Yeah.
us. I mean, the other day I was doing ring rows and I was like, I've forgotten how hard these are.
Yeah.
I was like, man.
When you have your form down and
Yeah.
it just it helps. It helps your body to build those accessory muscles for those movements. But it's also, I give that analogy of like, hey, if we have an RX member and they've been doing RX for years, they've been building their body, and you, my scaled member who has workouts just built for them that we make, if we switched you guys, how would that workout look? How would it feel? It's not going to feel that same.
Oh,
so
no.
the skilled person, now that I'm like making you do RX movements, pull-ups, oh, I don't have it. Handstand push-ups, I don't have it. Regular push-ups, I don't have it. Rope climbs, I don't have it. I don't have any of these or the weight. Okay, now let's do front squats. Oh, I have those, but I need you to do 10 at 125. I can't do that. You're not going to get a workout, period, or you're going to fight and hurt yourself. It's not the point of the workout. And then my RX person that I scaled for no reason, they don't have an injury. They're moving well. They can do the weights. Now I scaled them to, a scaling fracture of the workout. And that might be a warm up for them. So when you look at it, my RX person who's doing their RX stuff, my scaled person who has their special workout just for you, which a lot of you guys are like, I like individual workouts. And then we put you in a group setting and then shoot, like shit hits the fan and you're like, but I want to do what everybody else does. And I'm like, but you have this workout's for you. Sorry. Let me
Tangent.
yes. So my RX person is working out. They're doing their thing. And now you, my scaled person that we've scaled correctly to, you are feeling the same way that RX person is. Technically, you are RXing for yourself. You are doing RX. You are doing an RX workout to your percentages that you can hit and that are rough for you.
Right.
Okay. If you've never done a ring row and you're cranking out 20 of them, that was RX from you not doing it. If you do push-ups on the 30-inch and now we're going to 20, you RX'd it. Yeah. To me, RX is growth.
100%.
It's not like, oh, I need to hit that. And maybe because I've been in it for so many years, I've gone through injuries, I've gone through pregnancies, and I'm kind of today, tomorrow might not be the same, but today I understand that the scaling part for me was good.
100%. Yeah.
You know? And again, CrossFit is a very mental thing. I feel like life is a very mental thing. People, you know, you grow up, you always want to be an adult, and I don't know why. Because it's such a mental thing to go through. And now, you know, something that we tell you to turn your brain off of, I kind of want you to see how your body's feeling. Mm-hmm. And in order, you got to turn your brain off. I'm just asking for the first 10 to 20 minutes when we're going over the workout, when we're doing warm up, when you are listening to your body during warm up. Mm-hmm. Just give me that and be like, okay. And then I will write your board for you. And I will cheer for you. And during the workout, you could shut your brain off.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's fair. Yeah. I'm not asking for much. But yeah, I think you touched on a lot of really good points as to why we scale, you know, talking about like protecting ourselves from injury, also ensuring that we're doing all of the movements to standard. And also, I think one of the biggest things that you do mention is, you know, what comes with scaling is a lot of this mental game of, well, you know, scaling doesn't mean that I'm doing it as I should be. This means that I'm not good enough because I'm not able to hang with the top athletes in the class. And I think, and I'm with you because I'm one of those people that's just very competitive by nature. Mm-hmm. I blame it to being an only child. But I am one of those people that when I'm in class, I set my eyes on someone as a goal. And I'm like, I'm going to try and stick with this person throughout the workout and keep myself accountable. And that's just my style. That's how I work a class. But this is, you know, again, as a beginner, this is a skill that you come to acquire with time. Mm-hmm. The whole trusting in the process, the whole, you know, having faith that it's going to lead to a pull-up. Anyways, as we were talking, I think that one big skill that you do acquire as a CrossFitter is, as we mentioned before, kind of becoming more knowledgeable with your body, becoming more knowledgeable of the things you can and can't do. But I think scaling is one of those things too that you need to kind of work on when it comes to mentality, because sometimes we could be really hard on ourselves. I know I could be really hard on myself when I don't hit that RX button on some days. And I feel like, you know, that's also a big part of, you know, recognizing your body and being mindful and taking care of it. And I think going back to the theme of why do we scale? I think we scale because, you know, we want to make sure that we are keeping everyone in the gym safe, but also making sure that you are achieving your biggest potential in the gym by doing the moves as correctly as you possibly can. And also just keeping you safe and that you won't get an injury. Because trust me, as a beginner, you do not want to get an injury. It is a lot of work to kind of come back from. And it could be discouraging too for a lot of people. Yeah. So trust in the process, be patient. You will get to a good place. I mean, when talking about us, I've been into CrossFit like hitting 4 years close to, and there's still things that I scale, especially when it comes down to weight. So it will become second nature to you, but I can see how at the beginning as a new CrossFitter, it can be very daunting, having to learn all of these things, all of these moves, having to like try to meet the standards of what a top CrossFit athlete looks like. But don't be discouraged by all of that. It's a learning curve for sure. And it does take a lot of just trusting in the process that you're going to be fine. So keep showing up, keep being present. But talk to me, Blake, about how, you know, you transitioned from where you started and kind of where you are now relative to scaling.
I scale every other day or sometimes all week, or I just make up my own workout for me, which is scaling.
It's like, I'm feeling this today. I'm going to focus on this today.
Yeah. Or technically it's RXing because I made a workout that I can do.
There you go. There you go.
Either way you look at it. Yeah. When I started out, I scaled and started from, you know, ground zero.
Started from the bottom. Now we're here. I had to.
But yeah, like, what was it?
You popped, lock, and dropped it. Yeah. After a few years.
Shoot that thing up, mommy, make it work.
She's like, oh, my back. Truth.
Yeah, there was a lot of things. I mean, I could do handstands. I couldn't do handstand push-ups.
So impressive.
I couldn't connect good push-ups.
I Who can?
So, and yeah, people are like, okay, I can't even do push-ups. Okay. So let me break it down even further. So I started at ring rows,
Yeah, same.
and I started just with the bar for doing my cleans, doing my snatches.
Yeah, same here.
And usually when you look around the room, you're going to see that. But yeah, there's been times in my CrossFit, to me, it's a career because I've done it for so many years.
Girl, for real. True veteran.
That I've done RX things, but how Simmons puts it, I'm on the high ranking end of scaling.
Yeah. So like intermediate?
Before injury. Yeah.
There you go. I'll take it.
Sometimes that makes me sad because I've been in it for a very long time. So I wish I was like better in things. But I'm better for me. And I show up and I do the workout. Nowadays, I make up my own workout. Sometimes I used to do programming through our gym, programming through Invictus, Proven. And I would still look at those workouts and I would scale them to my capability. I wouldn't downplay things that I could do because I know workouts are hard. But I had to, the roughest time for me to scale, and it wasn't like I was hitting RX a lot, was when I was pregnant. With my first. My second, I was like, oh, I've already done this. I'm okay.
I got it.
But my first, I had just started, getting things like my toes to bar, my pull-ups were connecting more. I was able to do so much with my cardio and my lifting that, and again, guys, I wasn't doing RX weights.
Oh, yeah.
They were heavier than when I started. And then they would have to tell me like, hey, let's back off this. Hey, your bar's starting to come in front of you because of your belly. Like, we don't want to affect that bar line. We also don't want you to hit your cute little belly, But
Pregnant Blake.
Yeah, I did see it, how some of you guys look at it. You're taking things away from me. You're telling me, you're blatantly telling me I can't do that. And it wasn't, they were telling me in that mean voice that I thought they were, that Blake isn't good enough to do these. Yeah. It was just like, your body is failing you. That's how I felt. But they tell you to have kids, but
how
they don't tell you about
body.
But it was more of like, hey, we can still work on these things. They're just going to look differently. I'm not taking it away. But yes, I have sat in your shoes and been like, but nobody else has to do that. I have to do that. And that was the same thing when I came back from my pregnancy, because I have to build it up again.
Yeah.
And it was like a year taken away from me because of this beautiful child. But that's also like with injury with me, with my disc that popped out or whatever, it likes to squish out. I'm looking at 9 months in, and y'all, today I did an ab mat sit up. I haven't done that in 8 months.
Wow. Way to go, girl.
Right. But was I like, oh, that's the end of the world? No, I did other things that engaged my abs.
Yeah.
Stabilization, learn that. That is going to engage your abs 100% through everything.
You work on that.
Yeah. But scaling's out there. And it doesn't mean you're not capable. It just means let's do it a different way. So we're still working this muscle, but we're not breaking down your form. We're not going to create an injury. We're doing this for you. Everybody does it, which brings me to the news. All right. So doing RX, we all have this in our mind when we start. That is a badge of honor. When you hit that, especially the first time you hit it.
Oh, it's so exciting.
But, again, y'all, if you do a strength, if you do a back squat, front squat, a clean, a snatch, it doesn't have a prescribed weight. So if you lift the bar and you did that movement, it's RX automatically. Yeah. All right. So you will get that badge of honor that we say.
It's coming.
But what if you knew that the elite athletes actually scale? proven coach Dwight Upshaw, who coaches Sydney Wells and Olivia Kerstetter, said he thinks changing the plan on the fly is one of the most important parts of programming. So this is more, it's more like a day-to-day on your athlete's body, your athlete's, mental capabilities, like if they're having a rough day that we talked about, if they're sore, and this actually happens with elite athletes more than you think.
Yeah.
It could be every day. It could be every other day. It could be a whole week, for his 6-week program for his athletes are more of a skeleton map. So he kind of used he lays it out there and he's like, this is what the 6th week looks like.
Right.
But there's always room for change in it. And again, that is because sometimes this means loads get lighter, movements get taken out, or entire pieces are cut. Because it's based on the communication the athlete gives the coach. Mm-hmm. And that is the number one thing is communication. It is life rule number 1. Communicate with your partner, communicate with your coach.
Amen.
Sometimes I communicate with my dog too. If I'm just by myself, I talk to him.
That's my life.
But the biggest thing that we hear as you grow up, communicate. So they said communicate with your coach. Why? Because if you're not feeling it, if you come in and you're like, my legs are trashed and you want me to do more squats and I'm feeling more pressure in my knees than I should in my quads, let's mix this up then. Let's do something else. I've had people come in and be like, hey, my shoulder kind of doesn't feel right.
Really good. Yeah.
And yes, sometimes they look at me and be like, okay, well, let's just do a totally different movement. And they're like, but that's not what I want. Like, I know that's not what you want, but I don't want you to look at me midway and something happened to your shoulder and now it's in your neck. Oh. I've had people who are like, hey, I'm feeling this pull from my hip to my groin, my hip flexor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I think we should take this movement out because I think it's a warning sign that your body's trying to give you. And sometimes I get okay. And the other times it's like, but I really want to do that thruster. And I'm like, that's the movement. That's the movement you want to die on.
Oh, and it's one of the worst.
Yes. And that is not what I want you. That is not what we should pick.
Right.
And we shouldn't have that. Well, again, nobody else is doing a different movement, but your body is telling you that you need to do one.
Man.
So it's the biggest thing is communicating. I feel like this episode, I'm just very like with my ruler and like wanting, like hitting my hand of like, you need to do this. Because if you don't, that's what leads to injuries. It also leads to, we've had people, and I'm sure other gyms have it, when they come in and they just don't want to scale. And then by week 3, they're like, this just wasn't for me. Okay, good. All right. Sorry it wasn't for you. I would love to stand there and give them feedback and be like, maybe it wasn't for you because you weren't taking what CrossFit is about.
Right.
And you just saw the workout and you just need to do a workout. What CrossFit is about is growing you.
Right.
So we all have to start in the soil and then grow out with water, with sun, with talking, because plants like talking, with love. And that's what us coaches are there for, is to nurture you. Mm-hmm. There are times though, like when I've graduated a couple of my babies and just been like, no, you can do it.
Yeah.
And they look at me like, what? No. Remember like 4 months ago when you were like, well, why can't I do it? And you stomped your foot at me. This is the moment. This is your moment for this workout.
Go ring that bell, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I love scaling.
Yeah.
It's not a dirty word. It's not a bad word. Modifying is not either.
I'm with you.
We just got to do it. And if the elite people do it, it's okay for us average people to do it.
Right. Yeah, it just makes me think, like, it just brings back lots of thoughts of like, man, like this whole CrossFit experience, like jumping into it is like you're doing therapy almost for your body, because there's all these things you have to consider, like the mental game, the whole, making sure you're not defeated by workouts, the whole you're actually physically sweating and struggling in class, the interacting with people, there's a lot of factors going on. And it's like a matter of you trying to hone in on who you are in that, in the physical aspect. And I didn't really think about it until you brought it into perspective. And I was like, wow. Like it's kind of a beautiful, I guess, journey to be like, I am strengthening myself in every capacity possible, mentally, physically, and emotionally, and socially, I guess, because you're engaging with other people. And it's not easy work. It's like when they always say, when you jump into therapy, it's not going to be easy. Like you're actively doing the hard work because you know that on the other end, it's going to be goodness, So I think ultimately that's a big reminder here in this episode on scaling that, it's a process. It does take time, and it is one that you need to have faith in and trust in your coaches that it's going to lead to a good place. And ultimately, I think that's what I would tell my newbies is like, hang in there. Don't let it defeat you, because it will get to you a few days. There's some days that you're going to feel like, oh man, this was rough. And I think what makes the difference is still showing up the next day and saying, well, I came back for a little more.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, we want to hear from you guys. Like, if it was your first day, first week, like, let us tell you, like, that's a win. Like, we're so proud of you. We want to celebrate. We want to celebrate for you, with you. Like, good for you, and communicating with your coach and learning these movements. Like, it took me forever to know these movements. So why would I RX them?
Yep.
And we need to build that form. Yes, some of us, it takes longer than others.
Yes, like my overhead squats. Gosh.
That's just with everything. But you can also look at a movement, and I would tell you, like, scale it to a front squat. When are you going to squat that way?
Yeah, that's
true. And what
true.
Emergency?
On my tippy toes.
And what emergency are you going to lift something and keep it overhead and squat?
I don't know about the squat, but I might have to lift a body.
Lifting overhead, though, but that's, that is a clean.
I could clean a body and put it
a push press.
Maybe a jerk.
Yeah, or a jerk. Like, what are you going to do? I love overheads because it's something that I can do that people have a rough time with. I'm that
would be so cool.
Mean person.
If you could clean someone, jerk, and then just toss them.
Yep. And then toss them. Just like, and completely toss them out of my life.
I'm feeling like WWE, like,
But there's things to look at, like, scaling to a front squat. You squat, you have to bend down majority for the rest of your life.
And mobility, hello. That's like the biggest thing for me too. It's like,
and that's why I look at people, I'm like, this movement doesn't help you in real life. So can we scale you to the real life movement? I am going to tell you, Blake was like that when I was in my 20s, and I was like, I want to do all the movements.
Wait, have you seen that TikTok video of that guy who's at Costco and he does like CrossFit moves while he's shopping at Costco? He's like, let me get this bag of grain of rice, and he's like, and he like cleans it, and I'm just like, that's hilarious.
See, guys, like, you got to go to Costco. All that stuff's in bulk. You have to learn how to lift it.
How to lift a bag full of rice and clean it on over your shoulder.
You know what? Maybe we'll do a video and I'll just make Joycey overhead squat everything and be like, see,
produce.
Do you really need this in your life? I need it in my life, but do you?
Yeah, I'd be down to do it with a watermelon or something. Go like, ha.
Yep.
See, the power.
Yep. Power. But yeah, let us know. Like, we do want to be proud of this, and don't be afraid to scale. Don't be afraid to modify, and don't be afraid to communicate with your coach.
Yes. Amen.
Even if you pull them to the side, like, it's not like sometimes I make all of you guys line up and do the board. If I know the members in class, if I know some members don't like to be called out like that, I just walk around and be like, hey, what are you doing?
Right.
Okay, well, let's just move this around. Okay, thank you. There you can, if your coach knows you,
you'll get the glare, and you'll know.
But, and if you don't, like, if this is your first week and you're like, hey, this coach doesn't know how I move, just pull them aside and be like, hey, like, what should I do?
And Blake is pretty expressive, so she'll let you know with her face.
Yeah. When they're newer, I'm so much nicer.
Like today, I was trying to do the squats with the 35s because I was like, maybe I could do it. And then Coach Dave, like when we were doing like the warm up, was looking at me like, oh, those 35s look kind of heavy, huh? And I'm like, yeah. And then like eventually I ended up kind of making it look good so I would avoid getting dropped weight, which which is not healthy, guys. Don't do that.
I like how she said Blake's face, but she brought up the example of Coach Dave.
I know. This is just Dave being expressive, but you do it too, which I'm all about because then I'm like, oh, it's coming. It's coming.
Do because
especially with form for me.
I'm always like, okay, I'm going to reiterate this like 1,000 times.
It's like, you know the answer, don't you?
Mhm.
That's what you do.
Half the time, you guys know the answer. And I'm like, and then I give you.
Trisha. We keep sticking out.
She's gotten
didn't get
so
it.
much better.
Really?
You guys just like to stick your tatas out on your press, which makes your butt go out. And I was like,
I wonder
What are you
why. It
doing?
must have been like some female
You like to go-
genetic way
genetic.
of moving.
She's like, what of it?
Makes me the most like
No,
threatening. I
you like
guess.
to go on your toes in a lot of movements.
do.
She likes to go on your toes. So what happens to your chest when you go forward? It goes forward.
Yep.
Right? And to compensate, you guys are like, oh, if I put my butt back, I'll be fine.
And it's like, don't look at my lift, just look at my whoa.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're
Poor
right.
Trisha.
I'm working on it.
Tracy's just driving everybody under this bus. Me, Dave, Trisha.
Oh, we're cutting this
Who else
out.
is on your list?
Just saying. I'm just saying. You know,
But
we're
yeah.
all working on something.
We do have faces.
Yes, we do. What? I was like, what do you mean we all have faces?
It was the same you
I'm like,
yesterday
where is this going?
when you're like, first thing, we wake up. Yeah.
This was
we
your
sh-
moment
We
today.
should be so thankful we wake up.
Oh my god, my cheeks hurt.
It was like,
Yeah,
so,
we should be grateful we have faces.
I meant facial expressions. We all have facial expressions.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yesterday was just like completely like,
We were exhausted.
yeah, we were. But I was like, not even we took a breath. We woke up.
I was suddenly
We should be
awake.
so happy that we woke up.
Yes.
And I
That's a
was like,
blessing in
her-
itself, though.
Her next sentence is like, and we're blessed that we took a breath.
This isn't helping.
No. But yeah.
My cheeks hurt now. Oh man.
All right. Going.
Whew.
So don't be afraid of scaling.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut like a big chicken.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and leave some parts because it was funny.
Oh man.
But let's go with the ending, right?
Yes.
Because every good thing has to have an ending.
That's right. But we never will.
But thank you everyone for allowing us the chance to share our personal stories and experience with scaling workouts.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's about. Again, please remember we're not PTs.
No.
Joyce, are you a doctor?
No, I wish. Couldn't afford it.
And nobody's gonna let me sit through classes for that license.
I do like school though.
But the biggest thing is like
What?
So I liked middle school and high school.
I don't know. I just like learning.
She just likes learning. I
Oh
like
my god,
learning
were
too.
you a bully?
I'm a bully. No, you're the
Anyways.
bull. You're the Taurus.
I know, and I'm so nice.
I know. I like learning too to grow. But remember, guys, prioritize the safety when doing CrossFit.
Yes.
And that's what
100%.
scaling is. It's helping you to be safe. So listen to your body. Be mindful when approaching a workout. Communicate with your coach, please. And take care of yourself and have fun.
Yeah.
Half of the battle is...
Just showing up, guys. Yeah. And just remember, mindset is key. And in showing up, you are one class stronger than you were yesterday. So that's a win already.
But yeah, a big thank you to my co-host, Joycey.
Yeah.
This episode was written by us and edited by us. And a big shout out to you guys for listening.
That's right.
We do see when you guys listen.
We're talking to you, Dennis.
Dennis. Dennis is probably
Perfect.
going to get one of our first shirts.
Right.
Hot pink.
Always giving us tips on the podcast, what
I
to
know.
do.
Yes, music is from SoundCloud and Upbeats. Also, if you guys have any recommendations of an episode that you would like us to talk about or that you guys want to hear us talk tangent about,
Yeah.
go down the rabbit hole
That's
of
right.
anything, we're here for that. So you can reach out to us through our emails. Yes, I said emails. We have two. We have savagelyscaled@yahoo.com and savagelyscaled1, the number 1,
That's right, because we're number one.
at gmail.com. If you think email is too old school for you, then DM us on Instagram at savagelyscaled or our TikTok at savagelyscaled. All right?
That's right, yeah.
And if you think this is your swig of pre-workout, please subscribe, follow, review. Please review. You know what? Maybe that's what we should do. Like, please review. You can leave a review on Spotify, but Apple Podcast leaves it to the review that we can read. We also do the interactions with some of our Spotify stuff, which Maggie's Lambs has done again too, Miss Maggie, and we like to do shout outs for that. But the biggest thing that helps us, and it also puts a smile on my face, and then I send
makes our day.
Yep, yeah. I send a text to Joycey and be like, oh my god, we got another review. But I love to read them.
Yes,
so please and share.
100%. Did we talk references yet?
We have not.
There we go. I was like, wait.
Yep.
Okay, references from ferncreekcrossfit.com, WOD Prep,
and of course Morning Chalk Up.
Absolutely. Well, a big people that we rely on for a lot of our news. But that's pretty much it, right?
Yep.
Well,
until
we meet
at the whiteboard again.
Ta-ta.
Ta for now.
Oh, there we go. You need to answer that.
I do.